Hey guys, welcome back. So now we are getting into the death of Doctor Strange, which early on is showing the signs of a very good and very compelling series. So let's get into it. But first, if you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to catch the spills every week. And don't forget to hit that bell up top so we can squat up in the comments for the first hour. Alright, so with the way this starts is broken up into two chapters, with the first chapter starting as a strange day, which really for the most part just seems like a regular day for Doctor Strange, with a couple of events that are a bit extra sprinkled in. But first thing in the morning you have the case to where Bats is waking him up, and it's funny because Bats is asking Doctor Strange to take him for a walk, which Bats really doesn't need because he's not alive, but Bats tells Strange that it's more so for him because he needs to stay in shape. But even still, it's one of those things that makes sense that Bats is even concerned, because before his original owner had a heart attack, and in Loki Sorcerer Supreme, so did Bats. So it's one of those things to where it makes sense that he's concerned for Strange, because he really doesn't want him to fall to the same demise due to lack of exercise. But also as this continues, we get a bit of narration from Doctor Strange about his fascination with Koshi the Deathless, but we'll talk more about that in a little bit. But as he continues to go on with his morning routine, he then pulls the image of his former wife Clea, and though there's really no context initially to what he may be thinking about her, it is something that we're shown later on. But as he goes on his way and just like grabs a cup of coffee for Wong, and he heads out, but through his narration with him talking about his interest in Koshi the Deathless and how Strange was always fascinated with how Koshi had cheated death, with Koshi taking a small piece of his life or his soul and hiding it away within a hidden place within a hidden place within a hidden place, which is something that then had made Koshi immortal by not allowing the entirety of his soul to be subject to a traditional death. And as we follow Strange as he makes his way to the hospital, he then also admits that part of his motivation with becoming a surgeon, that it had also been inspired by Koshi as well. Because if nothing else, surgeons are cheating death every day, with putting their expertise to use, with either removing one thing or correcting another, to where otherwise if that surgeon hadn't done anything, then in a number of cases a lot of these people would have died a lot sooner. And I gotta say, and even with saying this, I feel like every time we talk about Doctor Strange, I say this, but in the case of Doctor Strange, one of my favorite things about him, it's not so much the fact of him just being a sorcerer or the Sorcerer Supreme, but instead it's more so the one thing that sets him apart from a number of different magic users who in a number of cases may even be more powerful. But in the case of Doctor Strange, who was a surgeon first, he uses that approach with the mystic arts. Like for instance, with a surgeon, you trust them in their expertise because of their knowledge, their years of dedication and practice, and in the moment that they're carrying on with whatever operation, you trust that they're using every tool at their disposal or even the latest forms of technology in order to save your life. And for Doctor Strange, I've always loved that he's approached the mystic arts with that same level of conviction, with him borrowing power from a countless number of sources and even using them in combinations that are unconventional, but nonetheless it comes down to him using the focus and the precision with magic that just sets him apart from so many others, which is something he really needs to do after being nerfed by the Vishanti. But also with Doctor Strange kind of taking this moment to return to the surgeon position, and he expresses how it feels brand new again because of how much his life has changed since he's become the Sorcerer Supreme. But once he's sterile and he grabs the knife, nerves don't matter, his hands know what to do. Which is another thing to keep in mind, because we gotta talk a bit more about that too, in just a little bit. But then not long after Doctor Strange successfully completes the surgery, he then hears this large explosion, which he then goes to tend to, and when he does, there's this guy who summoned a bunch of power that he can't control, and to whom this guy I believe is Pavel Plotnik, who at one point during Strange Tales, he had shot Doctor Strange during a duel of the mystic arts. And it wasn't like a magic gun, he didn't conjure it with magic, but in the middle of the duel he was just like, you know what, bump this, and he just pulled out a pistol. But when Strange finds him here, losing control after trying to link himself to the 7 sons of Cenobus, at this point it's become a very hostile situation, and even to the point to where he's nearly shot by a couple of officers. But when Strange steps in and he tells the officers to stand down, and he lets them know like this guy doesn't need a bullet, he needs a doctor. But with this happening, not only does it show us that Strange is better than me, because I'd have just been like karma, but it also takes us through the idea of Doctor Strange still very much being a doctor even in the position of Sorcerer Supreme, with him diagnosing the situation and severing the link successfully, which he expresses is the same to him as surgery. And then after this, we then see him go by the Strange Academy in New Orleans, which is the school that he had established not too long ago in order to train younger sorcerers. And when he stops by, he's pretty much giving them a breakdown of the responsibilities of being the Sorcerer Supreme, and even with doing so, he informs them of some of his duties that come along with his position, much like his duties of maintaining the barrier, which is a master spell, which keeps the Dark Dimension, the Celestial Concordance, and a number of other outer planes from just invading their reality. And he lets them know, like, he's not just telling them this because he likes to talk about what he does, but he informs them because when it comes to the time when he's no longer Sorcerer Supreme, it's very possible that the next Sorcerer Supreme may be in this room. And when that time comes, after his tenure in this position is over, which pretty much means in the time of his untimely death, and I only say that because his retirement is unlikely, but either way, when this happens, the Vishanti, they will call for another. But then after this, when class is dismissed, he's then chased down by Doyle, who, if it wasn't obvious, he's the son of Dormammu. But with him chasing down Doctor Strange, he tells him that something feels weird, with him naturally having a connection to the Dark Dimension, and him chasing Doctor Strange down to let him know that he senses something going on in the outer planes. And with hearing this, Strange is aware that something is off, but the conversation is then cut short when Doctor Strange is called to the baseball diamond to handle an incursion. And when he gets there, he then comes to find out that there's a number of demons who have escaped from Limbo, claiming that they've come to harvest the souls of the Earth's children in order to satiate his hunger so that they could be spared. And with them saying this, is really one of those things to where Doctor Strange was like, you know, can you make it plain? But they really don't go into any further detail because Magic, she pretty much cuts it off there, and together both her and Doctor Strange send them all back to Limbo and they seal the breach. But throughout this strange day, there is a bit of business as usual. But even in the case of Doctor Strange, business as usual, it's still strange and unusual to not just your common person or even other heroes, but even in comparison to other sorcerers, to where in that case, it's mainly because of the responsibilities that he has as Sorcerer Supreme, which have also allowed him to meet a number of exceptionally unique friends and companions along the way, and even lovers, but even along that journey, he's lost a number of them as well. But after this, with us later catching up with him at the Sanctum Sanctorum, it's here where he's winding down for the day and he gets a knock at the door. And with him going to answer in his robe, he does take a minute to get a bit spiffy because at the end of the day, literally, like you don't know who this could be. But as it turns out, when he answers the door, we see right away that he recognizes who it is, although we're not shown anything more than just a shadowy figure. And with seeing his response to this person, it almost appears as if he doesn't feel any threat of any sort. But this then changes quickly as soon as he's attacked with a power that he would describe as overwhelming and unconceivable, but also familiar to him. Terribly so, which I feel like is a bit of a hint, and we'll get back to that. And really it's here in this moment within his thoughts that we get a bit of a glimpse of some of the things that we could only assume that he was thinking of earlier, with us seeing him looking at an old picture of Clea or talking to the young students at the academy and giving them the lecture on the preparation for the next Sorcerer Supreme. Because it's here in this moment to where he thinks to himself that it's good that his friends aren't here because they couldn't help him. But even with that being the case, it doesn't mean that he doesn't want them here. But he just knows that if they were here, that there was nothing that they could do. But that doesn't negate the fact that he does not want to die alone. But then suddenly with this attack, everything just goes dark. And this is what takes us into chapter 2, the lonely death of Dr. Stephen Strange. And from here we just jump to Shaman, Thor, Magic, Wong, Bats, Reed Richards, and a number of others all over the world because they already know what has happened, because they feel the shift. And I mean everyone except for Reed Richards, he more or less got an Amber Alert. But with a number of them rushing to the Sanctum to help their friend, when they get there it's too late. Because by the time they arrive, Doctor Strange has already been killed and both of his hands are missing. Which also feels like one of those clues from the huge like whodunit type stories. Like when we get to the end and Scooby and his friends, they take the mask off. Because I'm pretty sure his missing hands are like critical to the plot. But then after this, when Baron Mordo then makes his way here, like it doesn't take long for people to assume that it was him that did it. And right away when he just walks in, Wong is the first to accuse him, and it nearly starts off a battle between him and Caecilius. But even Baron Mordo admits that as much as he wanted Doctor Strange dead, that he didn't do this. And in fact, in a way he feels robbed of the opportunity, which is kind of a messed up thing to say over a dead man's body. But even with Baron Mordo arriving here, this is then interrupted when a call comes in from Captain America that was meant for Doctor Strange in an attempt to inform him that a number of portals around the world have just opened up, placing the world in utter and complete chaos, which of course is the situation because the Sorcerer Supreme is no longer sustaining the barrier. But in the middle of all this with like Bats mourning Doctor Strange, and all these crazy alerts, as well as Wong and Caecilius at each other's throats, but suddenly this magic door opens and it's here coming out through this door where we then get the arrival of classic Doctor Strange. Because a long time ago, when Doctor Strange was much younger, he had managed to hide a piece of his soul within a hidden place, within a hidden place, within a hidden place. And from what it seems here, he hid that piece away when he was way more powerful. And because of that, I'm excited to see what the return of classic Doctor Strange is gonna bring. But then also at the same time, in a weird way, I also feel like he's the #1 suspect in this whole thing. Cause if I locked a piece of myself away, I'd be mad at me. And I mean mad as hell. Pun intended. And so now real quick, I want to give a special shout out to all the patrons. Thank you guys for all your support. And for anyone who's new here who wants more information on how to support the channel, I got a link below to where you can go to patreon.com/dopespill. But that'll do it for this one, guys. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below and also your theories as well, because I'm super excited and I really feel like this is going to be a good one. But let me know what you guys think down in the comments or over on Discord, and we'll do it again in the next one. Alright, later.